court has ruled that you require assistance in taking care of yourself.
I'm fine.
I'm afraid it's not up to you to decide. The court has appointed me to be your legal guardian.
What?
We see your character, Judge Lomax, kind of caught in the middle of this. He is, in a lot of ways, the one pure character in this web of deceit, I guess. What's your take on the movie's worldview? Is that something you kind of believe in yourself? Are we doomed?
Well, I wouldn't say we're doomed, but that's not too far from the worldview. One of the reasons why I wanted to do this character is because of the subject matter that it dealt with. And I have a friend in a similar situation with like a assisted living type of place, and pretty much has lost everything. And I didn't even think in the movie they went as far as they possibly could, if that makes sense, because it really is shocking when you see just what can possibly happen if all of the cards fall in the right place. And that was one of the things that really attracted me to the film. And as Judge Lomax, how just based on the law, you can unwittingly contribute to this. I mean, what we see in that film is happening quite a bit. And if anything, we kind of lift the veil, so to speak, and people need to seriously take a look at what's happening. And then we get into the darker comedic parts of it. But that subject matter I found very, very serious and very real.
Drop the key behind the front left wheel. Give me a few hours. I don't have a brother. And then again, I do.
I actually did a Random Roles interview like this with Margot Martindale back in the spring, and she had told me that she was on set for Your Honor when things got shut down. And I wondered what that whole undertaking was like from your point of view. Were you actively on set and working that day when things had to kind of be put on hold?
I was on set working with her.
Wow.
We had that big dinner scene that we were shooting, and just to tell you the truth, Bryan Cranston says, "Can I talk to you for a minute?" And I thought, okay, this is it. They're going to fire me. They just hate everything that I'm doing. You know, that insecurity of every actor, you know, it's like, no matter how old you get, you know, you're always thinking, you know, doom at some point. But he said, I think we're going to have to shut down for a couple of weeks. And I remember saying, God, a couple of weeks, really? Just it's going to have to take that long? And he said, no, it might be longer. I thought, well, okay. But I was just thinking we were just going to do 2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks turned into like 7 months. I mean, we shut down in March and didn't come back until October. The only thing that I did notice is that you would think that amount of time you would forget things and things would get out of your head. But seeing that you weren't doing anything else because everything was shut down, the world was shut down, everything kind of stuck with you. So when we went back to it, it was like, yeah, it's been a while, but we're just sort of picking up where we left off. And making that adjustment was not too bad. If I had been doing, you know, 5 or 6 other things in between, I would have had some serious problems. But no, it was like that was the job I ended with. I did a couple of things, but nothing to that extent that was going to pull my mind away from playing Charlie in Your Honor.
That's the force.
Shit, as far as the federal money's concerned, he's everything.
The faucet, the goose.
Oh, goose.
The one that lays them golden eggs.
What can you say about about The Wire's lasting impact on yourself and your career?
I remember when we finished, I thought it was one of those things like all the other roles that would just kind of drift away. I knew that at the time we were making a big impact on the social condition in the country, in various cities, even though that one took place in Baltimore. But I really thought it was just going to drift away. I was shocked. Well, yeah, shocked. I was very surprised that 20 years later, I would still be dealing with The Wire as if just done it last week. A lot of that has to do with the famous catchphrase that I perpetuated in The Wire.
I might be familiar.
I remember at the closing night party, David Simon came up to me and he said, you know, you're going to have to live with that. I said, nah, you know, year or so, it's going to be over. He said, well, I don't know. And it turned into everywhere I went. And I'm talking like around the world.
Shit. Mr. Brogan, I do believe you're fucked.
What I'm most curious about, and I don't know if I've heard you speak on it specifically, is the thread of Flood, the character Flood, through 25th Hour, She Hate Me, and Red Hook Summer most recently. I don't know that I really know what the story is there, if there is a story. Why has Flood come back time and again?
There's no real. It's like, you know, I get a call from Spike and he says, I want you to do this, or can you do this for me? And his name is Agent Flood. And I thought, oh, okay. And it just Flood keeps getting, losing his job and getting another job. And that's just, it's kind of like the whole thing with the shit that it just keeps going and just keeps moving. But there's no beyond that, unless, I mean, there may be.
Maybe Spike knows. Yeah.
Spike hasn't told me, Yeah, probably knowing Spike, there probably is, because he's usually very specific about things.
It sure is good to see y'all.
Ain't this some shit?
I'm telling, it's a stone cold trip being back here in country.
I know that this was like quite a production for everyone. I mean, you guys were all filming in Thailand and there's action scenes and everything. And has this awards attention just kind of felt like a nice cherry on top of things? Like, what has this whole experience been like for you?
It's been great, the attention, because you set out to do something like this. I don't think anybody ever knows how it's going to turn out. And, you're always hoping for the best. You just want to go in and do your job. But it was such a grueling shoot that that it is kind of a cherry on the top, because we really did put the work in.
Oh, yeah.
There was such a bond. And, there were times when, you just sort of had to hold on to one another because we were just in these, with the mosquitoes and the flies and the heat and the hours and the dirt. I was just, you got to a point where it was like you were just living it. And when I saw the film, I saw so much of that coming across, and that's what it needed to be, because it didn't look like some guys in Vietnam who had just come out of their trailers, which is what a lot of these movies look like. I mean, you see some of these movies and you say that guy never spent a day life, but we looked like we had been living it, and we were. And it was beautiful to watch, because there was one time when I saw myself, and I mean, I really looked, I was like, oh my God, it was like the water was streaming off my face. And it was like, I just looked like I wanted to be someplace else. And that's what you want, you know, that is war. That is what a lot of these soldiers were going through. I couldn't imagine being in that type of a situation, especially, I mean, if I was actually in the war, I don't know how I would have handled it. They almost got me, but you know, thank God I would have been cannon fodder anyway.
Wait a minute, Jesus Christ, what happened to you?
Well, nothing. I just almost got into an accident right now driving over here.
I told him about the accident and I said I was partying all night.
No, I'm fine, Doc.
Come on, get over here.
Doc, I'm fine.
Let me check you out.
That was an early film for you, and here you are with Scorsese and such a cast there. Do you remember really what was going through your head when you were on set?
To give you the backstory on that, when I came to New York, I started hanging around the actor's studio, and a woman came to me and she says, you know, Paul Newman is doing a reading at his apartment. They're trying to get some people together to read this script with Martin Scorsese, Tom Cruise, a few other people. And so I said, yeah, sure, you know, I'll go. And I did. I think I read like about 5 or 6 different parts or whatever. And then I wanted to get in the movie, which turned out to be The Color of Money. And they cast Forrest Whitaker, which, you know, all hats off to them. But I didn't get into that movie. And I mean, I desperately tried to. Well, fast forward to Goodfellas. When Goodfellas came out, that was sort of like this sort of feeding frenzy in New York City. And I got an audition for it. And I went in and I auditioned for the guy who owns the nightclub, and he gets hit over the bottle by Pesci. And I thought, well, look, they're not going to cast me as this guy. I mean, it doesn't make sense, you know. And so I got a call back, and I thought, well, I don't care. I don't, you know, who am I to decide? So I went back, and I go into the room, and Martin Scorsese says, where do I know you from? I know you from somewhere. And I said, well, you know, I did those readings at Paul Newman's for you for The Color of Money. And, you know, and he said, oh, that's right. He says, well, look, that part you auditioned for, obviously you can't do that part. It just wouldn't work. But I have this character, he's a doctor. And it's in the part of the movie where he's like the only person that Henry Hill trusts. He's all coked out and everything like that. And he said, do you think you could do that for me? He said, I know it's not much, but if you could do it for me, I would really appreciate it. And I'm sitting there saying, okay, Isaiah, act like you've been there before. And I said, yeah, sure, Marty. I mean, it's not about the size of the part. It's, you know, it's what we do, you know. He says, okay, thank you. I would love it if you could do it for me. And that's how I got cast. I was like, you know, I didn't say, you know, well, gee, Marty, I haven't ever done a movie before. Hardly. So I don't know if I could do it for you or not, you know. But I got cast in Goodfellas, and that's how all of that happened. But I do remember I went to my day job. I was a waiter at a place on 10th Avenue. And I said, I just got a part in Goodfellas. And there's no way, get out of here. I said, I met with Martin Scorsese, and they're going to cast me as this doctor. And one of the guys said, oh, I'm going down there tomorrow. I'm going down there tomorrow. I'm taking my stuff, because if you got a part, I know I'm going to get a part. It was like, they must just be handing out parts. They must just need tons of people if they cast you, you know, you, the guy who just got here. So, and he went down there and he didn't get a part. And here I am.
Time, distance, cover are your friends. I don't care if this scumbag makes it through the night. I care if you do. Understood?
All right, let's hit it.
We've talked to plenty of people for random roles, and any of them that have spent any amount of time working in New York have Law and Order somewhere in their credits. I'm curious, like, what has that show meant to you, and what has that been able to do for your career?
That show kept me afloat, you know, to be quite honest. I mean, I love being on the shows and doing all the different characters and things like that. But that was kind of like my bread and butter go-to. You know, they just kept hiring me, and I kept showing up, and you know, it would always be something different, and doing it. But I think I've done more than anybody I've ever met. I know I did Criminal Intent, and I think I was on the first episode of Criminal Intent. I remember, and my agent called me and he said, Isiah, he said, I have some good news and I have some bad news. This was 10 years later. He said, the good news is they're bringing your character back on Criminal Intent. The bad news is that it's the last one they're ever going to do. And so you're going to like bookend the show after 10 years. And the squalid part about this story is that they knew they could get me, you know. It was as if I hadn't moved, as if nothing had changed, you know, as if, you know, they knew that they could call up and get Isiah. And that's when I said, okay, something's got to change here.
I know what I'm doing, George.
With this hostage situation, I don't think you have the intelligence, as in intel, of course, man.
This is a show that you come into, and it has such a distinctive rhythm and tone. And I wondered what that experience was like. Did it take a second to kind of like warm up to, I guess, the rhythm that the show operates on? They
were fast. They've been very, very fast. And it's kind of like you plug in and you gotta roll with it. And the improvisation on that show was just phenomenal. And it was great. But in some shows where, you know, you do the line and that's it, you just sort of kept going. And that was the thing you had to get used to, is that you don't really stop until they say cut, or Julia says, you know, okay, I'm done. But they were fast. I mean, it was speedy, and you had to bring your game. You know, you didn't have very much time to think along the way. You just had to open yourself up to react and respond. But once you do that, I mean, it's really a nice little ride. You know, it's great. And working with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, who I found, I've never worked with an actor or actress who was so giving, that she was always helping you be better, and I really appreciated that. I mean, I found her to be very kind in that way, but it did make me relax a little bit and open up even more, because I always sort of felt like she had my back.
What do I think of Little Mac's chances against Piston Hondo? We're gonna be saying sayonara to him. That's Japanese for goodbye. Great Tiger ain't nothing but a little kitty cat.
I remember you showing up in the ads for the Punch-Out game. You were playing the real life version of Doc Lewis from the game. And was that a phone call? Like, how did that come about? What was that like?
That for me was just another commercial. That was just because I hadn't really seen the game. I mean, they explained it to me, and you know, you sort of get the gist of it. But I was like, you know, and then so you go in and you do it. I mean, sometimes that's good because, you know, then you just got to be honest as you possibly can to whatever it is you're doing. And I thought, you know, it's a boxing game, and I'll do it. But I didn't realize how many people saw it or say, oh yeah, you were Doc on the Punch-Out. And it's like, okay, yeah. More people play this game than I gave them credit for.